I mean, don't get me wrong, I was quite happy with her to start with because it's like I've got a lot of female friends who I'm very close with. I'll stay over at their house a lot because I used to live there, and so she was really cool with that. And I think that I wouldn't be, 100% comfortable. But at the end of the day, if someone's gonna fuck you, if you've known someone for 5 years, if you haven't fucked within 5 years, you're not gonna fuck. It's a fact. And I don't think that really matters about the fact, you're not going to be in love or anything like that. But I think that...
I think me and my wife also said it's important, we both have, I have female friends, she has, male friends as well. And it shows that you can interact with the opposite sex without
I would find it really strange
having to jump into bed with them just because you're a man, you're a woman, so we must have sex. It's not really the case all the time. I know a lot of people say men and women can't be friends. But,
I think that's bollocks.
Yeah. You can be friends depending on the situation.
The people who say that are the ones who tend to fuck their male friends, or their female friends.
Yeah,
and they're always quite attractive as well. I mean,
but most time in those situations, you're probably not really friends though. You're probably just was looking. You either got friend zoned, or you probably most likely was always looking to jump into bed with them.
Yeah,
anyway.
or one day they got attracted. Yeah, oh, this is weird, and then it caused a thing.
Yeah, but it was either one or both of you weren't really friends.
No,
deep down.
Yeah, the other thing is that I'm kind of thinking of now, actually, because you're on the subject of that, one of the things I found is that because I trust people quite quickly and completely, when they start doubting me, I don't get it. Because it's I trust you totally, so I assume that they would trust me the same way. And I just don't understand that part, because maybe you can explain it, because you're neurotypical, because it's, to me, when it's when you get accused of being dodgy, but you haven't been dodgy, you start to believe that you're a bit dodgy, and this is what gaslighting is. But also, when you start to think, it's well, why don't you trust me? And then they don't know. And I think a lot of it is down to the way that I talk, the way that I act sometimes, the way that I'm quite unpredictable, unless you know me very, very well. And that's fair, that's reasonable. I can understand that if that was a reason. But that feeling of distrust, and that's kind of haunted me all along. But to me, it's quite offensive. It's quite difficult, because you then have to, because once an allegation is made of distrust, you then have to justify yourself as the accused, not the other way around. You have to convince them now that, with evidence, with a lot more groundwork, than if you don't, if you just don't.
I think, in my opinion, I think in your relationship, based on what you told me, a couple of things I think a lot of time you move too quickly to build the trust. I think you just need to spend time and take a relationship slow enough to build the trust over time. I think you move too far into seriousness. I think sometimes you need to just... I understand, obviously we're in our 30s, you want to get together.
It's not about the age thing.
But I think you always been like that. I think you always been like that.
I've always quite liked the idea, I think, of having somebody as a partner in crime. Yeah. And I think that not codependence, that dependence is the wrong word.
I think we mentioned this in the earlier episode. I think you struggle to remember how many people you said I love you to.
No, I know how many exactly.
Yeah. So you're struggling right now. and to me, that's...
No, almost 7, I think.
Yeah.
No, wait, actually, wait, hang on a minute, wait.
Yeah, for anybody listening, to me, this is insane. I've only told 2 women in my entire life that I love them.
Quite a few people. So I think 5 or 6. Yeah, I think it's only 5 or 6.
But it's not about how many people you've been with, though. It's about... No, I think that's a strong emotion.
Yeah, I think though that
you don't just throw that around.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, that's the thing is though. It's I think that.
Sorry, not to shit on you as well.
No, you're not shit on me.
Yeah, it's obviously
that do it at different speeds.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, and obviously it's very real to you, so I don't want to disregard your.
Actually, it varies. Yeah, it's varying degrees thereof. I mean, right now, I mean, when I lost the girl who I almost married, I was wrecked for years. And I think that since then, and I think that my last serious relationship where I was living with somebody was, that was very difficult to get over. And that took me about a year to get over, 6 months to a year, at least 6 months to get over. And that's when I knew that I was going to break up with her. Yeah. And I knew why, and I understood it wouldn't work. And I'd say the whole process takes at least a year. But with the one that kind of really was the big mess up, I mean, I've never hurt like that before, and that really fucked me up for a long time. I mean, that was therapy, shit like that. I was wrecked. But I think that that's also because you give so much to somebody of yourself, and then eventually, especially when there's somebody who just takes things from you, I noticed that the ones that are hardest to get over are the ones who take a lot of you, you know, because there's not a lot of them to put in.
Right.
And so I know that, you know, my former fiance, like, there wasn't a lot of her in the end to take, you know, so I became a lot of what she was.
Do you think you picked the same type of woman over and over again?
No.
Or is it not looks or physically, but like, do you feel personality? Do you feel like they're somewhat damaged when you meet them?
No, I think I used to, because I couldn't understand who I was. I didn't understand that I had ADHD or why I was weird. Right. So when I found someone who was who had been through something, I mean, obviously I'd like a good backstory. You know, there's nothing more boring than someone's had a perfectly normal life.
Do you like do you like to fix something?
No,
do you like to fix a person?
Not really. It's more like I think that before I felt I've always felt slightly off centre, you know. I've always felt like I didn't quite fit in. And so when you find someone who's a weirdo like you, it's great, you know, and so to me there's all those similarities. I mean, if they can keep up with me in conversation, if they can, you know, if they can kind of bounce along with me, then it's such a rare thing to have, because when you don't know you've got ADHD, you're just a bit odd who talks a bit funny, and then when someone else comes along and talks a bit funny, and you're both like, oh my god, this is so exciting, and you get quite carried away with that. And I think that, you know, and then I think that I used to be I've grown up a lot, and I think that as you grow, you kind of what you need changes. So it used to be sort of, you know, like, you want someone who's good fun in bed, and, you know, like, just all that other shit. But then I think that as you get older, it's more about sort of partnership, and, you know, like, someone who's actually your best mate, you know, who listens to you when you're having a bad day, who understands you when you know, like, when your world comes crashing around, and mine does at least once a year, you know, like, because that's just the way my life is. It's when someone can sit down and, like, you know, like, pull you together when you can't pull yourself together, and then just support you a little bit. And I'm not saying I need someone to support me, that's not why I'm in relationships, but, you know, we all have bad days, and if she's having a bad day, you know, I'm there, you know, 100%. So all I really want is someone to be there for me where I'd be there for them, and that's it. And for some reason, that's quite a lot to ask of people sometimes.
I want to double back quickly to something you said. You said there's nothing worse than boring. I was going to ask, what's wrong with boring? What's wrong with just a conventional drama-free relationship?
No, not a relationship. No, I don't want drama. I don't want drama in my relationship. Dear God, I really don't. I mean, I think I've had enough. But I think that no, it's in someone who's. I don't know, I mean, like, okay, for example, I know that you know, you can edit this out, but I know that you went through a phase of a bit of a down period last year. Yeah. Okay, and we talked about that because there was something to talk about there, because we had that in common, and there was that to kind of relate to. And I know that misery loves company, or whatever, but it helped both of us to be able to talk about that off camera, obviously. And therefore we supported each other, and that's what I mean. Not that I want someone who's inherently damaged so that I can fix them, or I don't want anyone who's, you know, I'm open to, I want someone who's at least kind of, you know, seen both sides of life in a way, and, you know, it makes them a more interesting, a deeper person in a way. But equally, I don't want to be dragged into someone else's depression, because that's hard. Because then I get dragged in, and that's happened to me a few times where I've been dragged into someone else's depression and then taken the responsibility for it, and then they walk away like it's nothing, and I'm left, you know, like, with a lot of problems that I just did not need. And not knowing when to walk away is another huge thing. So, you know, again, this kind of relates to the trust thing. It's like, the more effort you put into a relationship, the more investment in that you go into. And that's kind of why I'm not that worried right now, because I realised early on in this relationship, not early on, but there was a few points where I sort of sat there and I thought, can I trust this person completely to be there for me? And I let it run a little bit longer, and then of late, those things that were being said, like, you know, calling me a liar without any real reason to, you know, telling me that I do things for attention when I'm not, you know, these implications that I'm unfaithful in some way, or that I'm disloyal, which is of course my complete opposite to how I see myself. Which, you know, I mean, I know that I'm a very loyal person. So,
do you think it was better off this way that it ended after a short period of time?
I mean, it's only been one day, so, you know, I don't know. I think that the loneliness hasn't quite crept in yet.
And hindsight, you haven't been able to see the hindsight.
There's not. Yeah, I'm not quite gone along far enough to be able to talk in hindsight. But I think that, I think that every relationship breakdown gets to the stage where if you start having the same arguments over and over and over. I remember I had one where I was having the same argument repeatedly because I wasn't being heard.
Right.
And they told me that I wasn't listening, but I was. I was writing notes,
Right.
and I know that going through things that, and after the breakup, the way that they acted and the way that they replied to the things I did, and I was very, very careful to be objective. And this is a big decision to make. You know, when you leave somebody, it's a big decision to make. Because you're changing your life and their life, and that's a big deal. Obviously, in this context where it's only 6 months in, you know, fine. You know, like, I mean, not fine, it's shit. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not hurt. I'm pissed off as well. You know, like, understandably, it'd be nice to, you know, I mean, I don't want to feel like shit. And I don't want her to feel like shit either. But every time you have an argument, it kind of just adds a little bit of weight. And that weight is underpinned by the idea that you're untrustworthy, and that is something that I'm now learning to protect myself from, so that I don't end up in a position where I feel like I am inherently untrustworthy. It's less about that, it's more about the fact that this person simply didn't trust me. And that could be for multiple reasons, including, but not limited to, themselves. And I'm not saying it's her fault to not trust me, I'm saying that I'm sure that there are my behaviours that she didn't quite, you know, like, that she saw as untrustworthy.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
So moving forward in your life, obviously we spoke in the last episode about you getting your property gonna move in very soon, and now you're a single man. Is there anything different you're gonna do this time? Do you think you're gonna take the time to heal, to do you, a bit of me time? No.
Yeah, I mean,
or you're just gonna jump back into another relationship?
I think that I don't have any real desire to just jump into relationships again, but I know that in about a month, that's because of, you know, like, in a month's time I'm going to get quite horny. You know, like, and I'm going to miss sex, and I'm going to miss the comfort of a person with me. I'm going to miss the little things like the kisses, you know, like the little kiss on the cheek that you're almost guaranteed every time.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having a shag every now and again, but I mean, like...
Oh, as in, like, relationships?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm quite... Now I've got a lot going... I've got too much on my plate right now. That's why this relationship ending hasn't affected me. In fact, the reason, you know, I think the final straw for her was when I said, look, I've got a new house coming, you know, I'm going to have to deal with that. I've got, you know, I'm sick today. You know, I've got to deal with this stress, that stress. I've got a new job starting. I've got to do, you know, I'm going to do the podcast. You know, I was like, I've got so much on my plate right now. The last thing I need is to have a petty argument over something that isn't big enough of a deal compared to the other things that I've got to carry. And I think that what I'm going to focus on now is obviously those things, you know, like doing the flat up, making something for me, building something for myself, and then also getting back in the gym, getting my health back, because I've just let myself go a lot. My arms are teeny tiny compared to, like, you know, I mean, I don't know if we can compare them to, like, last episode, the first episode we filmed about 6 months ago, you know, but I look like Bambi. You know, I think that's Bambi's legs for arms. It's terrible. I sit next to you, these fucking hams. Look at the size of you. Fucking hell. See, I'm going to get told off for flirting now. See, oh wait, can't get told off.
But I think it's very important. I said this to you before. Like, I think you kind of, from I known you, you've always been like, you break up with somebody, then you're back with somebody else, and I always thought, like, you haven't had enough time to heal properly, and I think that's very important. You need some time to heal mentally and emotionally. The
problem with time taking a heal is that time takes ages, and I think that one of
the
things,
does.
But also,
when you do heal, you've healed, and you're over that. I remember.
But when do you define being healed, like fully healed? When do you think
when you're
that's
like
done?
You're able to go into a new relationship completely like clean. You're completely you're not thinking about anybody else. Nobody's on your mind.
See, that's the thing. I had that.
Yeah.
I had that in this relationship. I went in completely clean, and then my past caught up with me in a very bad way, which I won't go into.
Yeah.
But suffice to say, yeah. I mean, it was terrible.
I don't think you was clean enough. You needed to completely be just away.
I mean, I felt clean at the time.
Yeah, you felt it, but I don't.
Yeah, but then you never know how clean you are.
Not to go into your situation, that shouldn't happen.
It should not have happened at all.
Yeah.
That the bad things should not have happened at all. But then again, I can't control someone else being mental.
No, you can't. But I mean,
and like what happened was completely unexpected.
Yeah.
But let's not go on about it, because otherwise people are going to start having more interest in what happened.
But yeah.
I think that. Yeah, I think that if you're can't remember. Yeah, about healing and time. I think that, you know, spending some time to yourself is hard.
That's
Especially
why
when you're not used to it. I think it's that filling the gap of your time with yourself when before there was them. So, you know, for example, who am I going to text now? I'm going to be bored.
Yeah.
And that's what leads me onto dating apps, because I just get kind of like, my fingers just get a bit bored. You know,
You
you're
do
sitting
get-
there inside doing nothing. It's like, oh, I wonder if I text this person.
I remember from my single days many years ago now.
Eons ago.
Yeah.
Back before there was a Mrs. White.
Yeah, I just remember, you know, when you're single and you're like, I want to go to the cinema, but I don't want to go by myself. You miss that little thing.
Yeah.
Those little dating things that you can't do anymore until you don't feel comfortable doing as a single person.
I can't imagine going to the cinema on my
Yeah.
own. Apparently, it's a really healthy thing to do.
It's not bad, you know. I've done it once. I've done it twice.
I wouldn't mind going on holiday on my own.
Yeah.
For some reason,
couldn't
that's
do
fine.
that.
But that's because you're meeting other people all the time.
I couldn't do that little thing. But I've done cinema twice on my
It's
own.
awkward as fuck for
A
the first day.
small cinema. It's not too bad. You just because in the cinema anyway, you get your food and then it goes dark and then nobody gives a shit really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, everyone's there to watch a movie. I can't
Yeah.
imagine anyone going, ha, loser.
Look
It's
at
like,
this
what the
guy.
fuck's your problem?
But
you know, like, he's on his own.
Yeah.
Although, the worst one is, though, when you've just had a breakup and everyone around you's in a fucking couple, when
Yeah.
you're like, there's just a gap next to you because of COVID, and you're like, one is the loneliest number.
I have noticed a couple of times in the cinema where, especially if somebody's laughing loud by themselves, and you just see that person by themselves, and you're like, oh, you're by yourself.
Yeah,
Loser.
I can't. I think that's because I'm always like, because I'm an extrovert. I always like being around people as well. So I always feel so awkward when I'm on my own.
Yeah.
Not just. I mean, this isn't related to me being in a relationship. I mean, in general, like socially speaking. Like, there was a point where I would get so anxious about being on my own that I didn't want to go to the shop on my own. I felt it as a big step forward. Yeah, but that's also because that particular ex-girlfriend wouldn't leave me alone.
Yeah.
So everything I did, she was there. It was like Yoko Ono and John Lennon.
I had a friend like that. I remember he wanted to buy a hat or something small from West End, and I remember he dragged me along. He's like, I want to buy a hat. I'm like, go and buy a hat then.
It's
He's
a damn
like,
good hat, man. Fuck you.
I'm like, go and buy a hat. Go and buy a hat. And then he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't go by myself. I'm like, why? He's like, oh,
Well, to be fair, if you're going to buy clothes, I would rather go clothes shopping with someone else just for a second opinion.
oh, but like for me,
You can't trust the salespeople, man. They've got
and
an agenda.
that same friend I bumped into. What was I doing? I was returning a jacket to Next, and I bumped into him in West End. That same guy that maybe dragged me along to buy a hat, and I bumped into him. He's just like, he saw me. He's like, oh, who are you with? I'm like, I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And he kind of like,
I'm an adult, mate.
He
We're
kind
adults now.
of looked at me weird, but I was just like, yeah, I'm just returning. I don't.
Yeah, it's like I've got a receipt.
Yeah.
This thing's gonna expire in a week. Like,
I don't
you know,
need to. I don't need to drag somebody along just to go to the store. It's just like
the missus told me to go.
yeah. Like, I'm that type of person. I'm like, oh, I need to go to do
I think
something.
it's a very strong thing. That's an introvert trait, isn't it? Because I mean, I know that like I had an ex who would go like anywhere on her own.
Yeah.
Like she would go into town and like have these nights where, I mean, this is one of the things I really liked about her and I actually really miss about her is that she would go on her own to events and she would have a great time, and they were just really quirky events. Like one time the two of I used to go with her to all these things, and our dates were fucking weird. We went to a wool one once about the benefits of wool, and the guy who did the presentation is actually now on one of those sort of on those videos where it's like survival expert rates 5 whatevers. I'm like, I know that cunt. Anyway,
I think I'm a bit
I
too.
really admire that
I think
about
I'm a bit
people.
too introverted to do social events, like go to a nightclub by myself,
oh fuck that,
or go on holiday by
Why would you go
myself.
to a nightclub at our age?
If I can imagine if I went on
Holiday's easy. Holiday's good.
No, for me, I think if I ended up going on holiday, say I went to like say Spain or even the Caribbean, I know what I would end up doing. I would just end up in the hotel.
I'd end up in a bar trying to make friends.
Oh,
That's
that's
the
because
best
you're an extrovert. Though,
Yeah, I need the energy from other people. Also, because I feel very vulnerable when I'm on my own.
Yeah,
so
you go out and
that's vulnerable.
You'd go out and make friends, but for me, I'll be just more. I'll get to a place and I'll just go, oh, what do I do now? And I just end up staying in the hotel and doing nothing. Maybe going downstairs to get some food or anything.
But it's a fucking leap moment that one though, because I know how you feel. Because it's like you get there, you put your bag down, you're like, this is safe.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm here. Now what do I do? And it's just really sort of weird feeling. But I realised that, you either sit there reading a book or whatever, or I don't have the concentration span for that anymore. But I found that, because I just kind of would sit there and I'd feel fidgety and awkward. So I'd need to do something with myself. And then I end up going for a meal the first time. I was in Bruges about 2 years ago. Big breakup. Just lost my job. Feeling like shit. I just decided, fuck it, I'm going to take the motorbike, I'm going to go across Europe. Because it's something I'd wanted to do for a while. I decided just on a whim, 24 hours later I'm in Bruges. My friend was furious because I just like knocked on a door. Hi, it's me. Fuck you. And I'm like, sorry, I forgot to turn off the oven. But anyway, so yeah. But I met this. But you know, I went out a bit, walked around a bit, felt super awkward. I was messaging my then girlfriend. You know, I had a new. Not girlfriend. Sorry, no. I had my friend being like, I don't know what to do with myself. And then I met this Irish girl who was, you know, called Jackie, and she was just awesome. So I got back at like 11, and she's like, you know, you're hilarious. I'm like, I feel good about myself again. And it's like, you know, you're really funny. Come on, we're going to the pub. And I'm like, yes. And we had this great night out. Had a really good time. And she was just a friend. I mean, nothing happened between me and her, but it was really cool because this is somebody I'd never have met if I hadn't taken that leap.
You're definitely the type. I think.
Battery.
Yeah.
All right.
You're definitely
the camera.
You're definitely the type of you're definitely the type of person that could just go out to anywhere and just make friends with people.
Well, that's kind of why I'm a good journalist, because I can just talk to anyone. But it's a lot of projection. I think I'm learning now about not projecting onto people, and it's more about sort of, you know, the balance of talking, because I will over talk. It's one of the reasons why you chose to do this with me.
Definitely is, yeah.
Yeah, because I will fill the silence.
Yeah.
And if there's a silence, then I get awkward about it.
Yeah. Like,
but then I also end up talking about myself, which
yeah.
is ironic, seeing as that's what we're doing now.
Yeah. Also, I don't like enjoy. I've done a few podcasts by myself. I don't really enjoy just talking to the camera myself. I don't really enjoy that. But
it's so awkward.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of like a little bit like,
yeah.
I don't really want to do that because we're talking about doing the ADHD one.
Yeah.
And it's like, hello, my name's Les and I have ADHD. You know, like it's going to be awkward. Because you were like, can you do one for me? I was like, fuck no. I need someone to bounce
So
off.
I've got a plan for that. So hopefully it won't be too awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, anybody listening, wait and see. We got an ADHD podcast.
Yeah, hopefully,
soon.
It's coming up soon. Anyway, so the word vulnerable came up. I thought that was quite a good point. Do you ever feel like you're vulnerable when you're on your own? Actually, I guess you wouldn't, because you're built like a brick shit house.
What do you mean in terms of emotionally vulnerable?
I feel like I used to feel, and this doesn't happen anymore as much, but I've kind of grown out of it. But I used to feel like people would always be watching and judging me if I was on my own, even in the shop. You know, I'd be like stood there on my own, and be like, you know, thinking that everyone's like looking at me like loner.
The only time I feel emotionally vulnerable is like when it's more of a social situation.
Yeah, so you're the opposite of me then.
Yeah.
So if you're in like a party and there's lots of people you don't really know, and someone talks to you, do you feel vulnerable then, or do you feel like? Cause to me, that's just like, oh, thank God I'm in.
Well, party's a bit different, because usually with parties it implies that there's alcohol, and it implies that there's alcohol, and alcohol brings up more of a extroverted nature in me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that as well. Yeah, but I mean, because
I sort of changed. I remember like even going to my sister-in-law's wedding, and then like my up until that point, my in-laws thought I was just a shy, quiet guy.
Aww.
Until
2 beers down, it's like all right, that's it.
Yeah,
you and I were doing shots.
They're like, oh, he's not shy at all. Like,
he's my brother.
Yeah, but that sort of changes me. But I'm trying to think back into like college.
Uni, you were right, although you were quite quiet, but you just follow me around and then you just kind of like skim them off the top.
Like college days.
What's the trouble, my lad?
Like college days where you do, like if you have a free period and your friends are in their lessons, so you have nobody to hang around with, so you have to awkwardly
sit in the common room like, please don't look at me. I don't have anyone to talk to.
It feels a bit awkward there.
Oh god,
or like
hide in the library.
Like work dues and all that, where you're like,
I hate that. Because you have to pretend to be someone you're not, and that's
you're
hard.
sort of like sitting there awkwardly.
Yeah, but I think everyone finds those awkward, extrovert or introvert, because the extroverts are scared that we're gonna over show ourselves, and I think the introverts are scared they're gonna actually have to talk some, and then the extroverts feel judged by the introverts. The introverts are scared shitless of the extroverts because too much energy,
right?
And then it's just like, and then that kind of But that being said, I found that with partners, I tend to go for introverts. Like, actually, no, that's not true. No, I think I've had a couple that have been. Actually, no, I'd say it was a good mix. Actually, forget it. That's not accurate.
Yeah.
But one of the things that actually, because what we're talking about there is one of the things that I've just to pick up on is group settings. I find that it's so much easier to talk to an individual and they have a completely different impression of who I am than if I'm in a group where I feel the need to entertain everybody. And to me, when someone's laughing and smiling, it's good. And I know that sounds so rudimentally basic and atavistic, but if they're smiling and laughing, then they like me. And if they're not, then I'm doing something wrong. So I will push and push and push to be liked, so to speak. Which, if you're having an individual conversation, like right now, you're looking at me like I've just slapped your mother. It doesn't matter, because, we can talk about that. But
I think as I'm getting older, I don't really care about being liked as much.
No, I think that might be an ADHD thing. I think when I was little, I really did. I was like going around to people being like, "Do you like me?"
I cared when I was younger. I think everybody cares when you're younger. You want to be liked, but I mean, I got to a point where I don't really give a shit, and I don't know.
I think that's where you kind of realise you're becoming an adult.
Yeah, you just you start doing like weird. You don't even care about dressing up as much. I used to like.
Well, yeah, because you're with people who know who you are.
Yeah, I don't really.
But then, is that because you've already made those social connections that are solidifying over time, and whereas before you didn't know who to talk to or who you'd get along with?
I think it's more you're just trying to put on like a persona. You're trying to be something like you're sort of not. When you're younger,
that's quite scary.
Yeah.
Well, then again, you don't know who you are, so technically you're being 15 different types if you're just trying them out.
To spin off quickly, it was interesting. I did what's it called again? Identity in business management. So it was this whole module about identity. I think it was called, and the lecturer mentions that's what when you go to university, people have like an identity crisis.
Yeah,
and that's why if you look in the first like Freshers Week, for example,
everyone's freaking out and everyone's getting their tits out.
Not even that, people
go for Freshers.
That's one thing that happens, but you see people wearing the loudest of clothes, red hair,
peacocking all over the place.
Exactly, and it's like
I used to have blue hair,
especially
dark blue. I was but
especially like people've travelled from all around. People have travelled from all around the world to go to this university where nobody knows them. So now it's an opportunity for you to reinvent yourself as somebody else. You might have been just a nerdy person in your school. Now you're here with red hair. I don't know if you watch Cobra Kai.
Yeah, the guy with the punk guy.
Yeah, the guy with the mohawk.
It's so awkward. That I find that program so awkward.
I like that show, but yeah,
shit.
But yeah, he's just like reinventing himself. So I think that's what happens a lot. That's what that module's about.
Isn't he a bit of a dick in that though?
He becomes cool again.
Oh, okay, that's good. Because he starts hanging out, being there for the little guy as opposed to the punk. But quick question: do you find that having a wife has helped you feel more confident? Because it's like you don't have. Because I was just thinking, because going back to the relationship element, it's like for me now I'm back out there and I'm being judged, and I'm probably going to have to be a bit more impressive in general than you would, because you've already done that part of your life now and you're happily with someone who you've already impressed and you feel you now got that security. Because I think that for me, that's one of the things I like about being in a relationship, is that I have the security of knowing that I'm with someone who likes me for who I am, and I don't have to impress anybody. And I think that that's one of the things I do like about that. But do you find that having now that you've got a wife, do you find that that's kind of taken some sorts of social pressure off you? Because you don't have to. Yeah.
I guess when I go out, it's a lot different being not just married, but in a relationship. Like I go out now just for fun, as opposed to trying to find a girl or trying to impress somebody or something. It's just for fun now.
I can't imagine anything worse than having to do that again. I can't be arsed.
It's a lot different that way when you're just going out for fun. It made me enjoy, like going to the club.
I'm old now. This is horrible. Yeah,
just like going to the club, and it made me enjoy that a bit differently now, because
you're there to dance with your mates. It doesn't matter if it's just you and the lads.
It's like before, when you went out, and if you don't like meet a girl, get a girl's number or pull a girl, it felt like a failure.
This is back in 2010, by the way, so it's not necessarily now, because now you just find them on the internet like they.
Yeah, that's true. This is before online games. But like before, it felt like a bit of a failure if something didn't happen on that night. It felt like
I used to clean up.
Yeah,
I mean, I really did quite well. I mean, there was plenty of fish.
Not to toot your own horn.
No, I mean, I was single for all of 6 weeks, and then it happened.
But yeah,
the event.
But that's how it used to feel. You felt like you felt, but then in a relationship, when you go out, you're not thinking about that. You're just thinking about if the music's good, the alcohol's good. It's like for me now, like when I go out, like
if it's past 1 o'clock, fuck that.
Yeah, for me, like music and all that is like more important now. Before I go anywhere, it's just as long as they're women. But like now, if the music has to be good, the drinks have to be a reasonable price. It just has to be a good time.
Yeah, you're there, it's like a wedding. It's like you're there to celebrate. Meeting loads of people.
Then you go home. You go home and you just had a good night. And that's that. And I actually,
especially if you went out together as well, that's lovely. I love that, because it's like then. But what I miss about being in a relationship. Sorry, just to jump in, didn't mean to cut you off like that. But it's like when you go home and you've got someone to cuddle. That's the thing. Is that I wouldn't, not security, but it's that sort of making you feel a little bit special. There's the two of you being special for each other, and I think that's what I really like about being in a relationship the most.
Yeah, I think also we've got to go back to the whole clubbing thing. You don't have to spend the whole night talking to some random person.
Yeah, you can retreat to the missus.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just enjoy yourself. You don't have to spend. I'm gonna spend all night talking to this girl.
Also, being judged by people is exhausting. I make shit first impressions as well. I mean, it's awful. And then also the whole thing of like, can you hear me? What?
I used to hate that. Yeah.
This is honestly, I just take up smoking so I can talk to people at one point. But anyway, okay, so the last thing I wanted to discuss was objective and subjective in an argument. I mean, like, actually, no, you know what? It's not going to fit in anymore. Yeah, alright, never mind. Alright, yeah. Do you want to wrap it up? Or?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Alright, so, ladies and gentlemen, that's our opinion on trust. Sorry, we're not a little off point. Did you wink?
No.
Wink. And like, so it's been lovely to have a chat, and we hope you found something in there that you can relate to. If so, give us a shout, and if there's anything you think we've missed, do please tell us, and we're happy to do a few more ideas that are based on your ideas as well, because we're running dry, Marlon. We're running dry. This is season 2. Give me a fucking break here.
And that's a wrap.
I can only write so much.
We finally wrapped up season 2.
Whoop whoop. Cool. Well, and hope you enjoyed it.
Bye.
Bye. This is the most YouTube thing we're ever going to do.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our video. Please do like and subscribe.